Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to VEDA day 12, and this is part 2 of my questions and answers. I can never get that right. Q&A, your questions answered video. So if you haven't, check out yesterday's part 1. It's up in the cards and down below in the description. So today I'm just going to jump straight in. I have 2 questions from YouTube. I have some questions from Instagram and some questions from Twitter. So the first question for today is from Samantha Green, and her question is, do you plan to have more children in the future? And if so, what would be your preferred time to start TTCing again? So I have thought a lot about this, and I've discussed it somewhat with Robert, and basically right now as it stands, I am perfectly content having 1 child. The plan before we conceived was always to have 3 children, and if you have been following me for a while, you would know that I had a bit of a traumatic birth experience with Ava, and my birth story will be up in the cards and in the description if you're interested in hear about that. And basically it hasn't put me off per se, but I just don't think I'm emotionally ready for that yet. I need to work through some things on the birth scale before I can even think about getting pregnant again. So for me right now, having 1 child is perfectly fine. I cannot wait to see her growing up and turn into a small little person with her own personality and all that sort of stuff. I will say though that if we do decide to TTC sometime in the future, I would want it to be as soon as we can. So in my mind, when Ava turns a year old, I think that's when I'll start considering it again to see how I am about the whole thing again. But right now we don't have any plans for it, but next year, mid next year, I'll come and think about it again. I'll discuss it with Robert and see what we think at that time. So one final question from YouTube, Miriam S, and she says, how long are you planning on getting these boxes? This is in relation to the Sassy Bloom boxes that I get my subscription of Sassy Bloom for Ava. Basically I think I'm on box 7 now, and box 8 is coming in the next week or so. I think what I'm going to do is go to box 12 and then reassess it at box 12, whether I still want to get them or not. Right now I do use the stuff that they send me, and I find most of the products in them truly are great, that it helps with getting toys that are specific for that age. So right now my plan is to reassess it when I get to box 12, which is in like 4 months time. So we move on to the Instagram questions, and on Instagram, Baby Hopes Barbie 13 says, what has been your favorite part of motherhood and what has been your least favorite? So my favorite part I mentioned in part 1 of this Q&A is that basically I love how she smiles at me when she's been away, or when I go in to wake her up, or when she is awake and I go into her, like a big massive smile. Seeing her personality come true, like I feel that already she's kind of like a little bit of a messer like her dad, like Robert is. I feel she's already like that. And the least favorite part of it is the sleep exhaustion. So at the start with a newborn, you don't get to sleep very much. And Ava has been a pretty good sleeper since we brought her home. She wakes probably once a night, and now we're at the stage where she doesn't look for a bottle at night, but she does wake at night. So we're still up, and I'm constantly, even during the daytime, I'm constantly like watching her monitors, making sure she's okay. You're constantly always on, there's no off time. and that is exhausting. But it is a part of being a parent, so I'm sure I'll probably get used to it over the years. But that would be my least favorite part, is the overall exhaustion that you have, whether it's from sleep deprivation or just worry about your child. Another part of her question was, do you plan on having another baby? If so, when? And then Emzo7 says, have you decided about baby number 2 yet? Are you just going to see what happens naturally? So those 2 questions are basically the same thing as I said about Samantha Green. Right now we're content with I'm content with just 1 baby. I'm sure Robert is too. And next year we will reassess and see whether it is something that we want to do, is have a 2nd baby right at that time, or we're just happy enough with little Ava. And are you going to see what happens naturally? So on my Instagram, I put up a post saying that it was decided by me, Robert, and our doctor that I won't be going on any birth control. The reasons for it is it took 2.5 years for us to conceive Ava, and if we are to try for number 2, that having nothing in my system since the birth of Ava will be in my favor than kind of pumping like pills and that sort of stuff into me. So right now I'm not on any birth control. I don't plan to go on any birth control. So in a sense, I suppose we are going to see what happens naturally. But we are still kind of preventing as well. So and Sunshine Bear 41409, she says, what advice do you have for someone new at TTC and struggling? So I'm not an expert on TTC and stuff, but what I would suggest, if a friend of mine came to me and told me that she's been trying for 2 or 3 cycles and it's not been happening, like, do I have any advice because I've been through it? The first thing I would say to her is that she should read the book Taking Charge of Your Fertility. Once I read that book, it changed my whole TTC perception. I agree with most things it says in that book, and I followed most things it said in that book. I know a lot of people don't like it, but taking your temperature every single morning really helped me. As a person with PCOS, I never knew whether I ovulated or if I ovulated or when it happened. I'd be using ovulation predictors tests, and it would constantly show a second line all the time, and I'm thinking it's getting darker, and then all of a sudden it disappears, but I still don't get my period 14 days later. So for PCOS, they just didn't work. OPK just did not work for me. So when I was taking my temperature, I could see when ovulation happened. Now, it won't tell you in advance that it's going to happen, but it does confirm and pinpoint when it did happen, so you know an exact date of when you ovulated, and then you know that it's 14 days later you're probably going to get your period, or else you're going to be pregnant. So taking charge of your fertility is the first step I would take for if I was doing TTC again. Taking my body temperature. Also, I loved taking the castor oil fertility packs. I found it so relaxing and de-stressing. People always tell you when you TTC, relax, it'll happen, don't think about it. But we all know that's not how it works. We all think about it. We all can't relax about it. But when I was doing the fertility packs with the castor oil, which I have a video if you're interested in that up in the cards and down below, I found it a nice way to zen out for an hour. I'd prepare the castor oil pack, I'd place it on my stomach, and it was so relaxing just there. And I do feel like it did help me. It did help stimulate my uterus, and I loved it. And I will definitely do it again if we do decide to TTC for number 2 at some stage. So they would be my advice, really. And then also the last thing is, take it easy on the pregnancy tests. If I could do it all again, I wouldn't take as many pregnancy tests as I did. I would wait until 12 or 13 DPO before I took a pregnancy test. And if I could, I'd wait until 14 DPO, until the day my period was supposed to arrive. I wouldn't take one till then. It's hard because you have all of these symptoms that are like pregnancy symptoms, but they're actually just symptoms of your period arriving. So yeah, those couple of things. So reading that Taking Charge of Your Fertility book, doing your BBT, your basal body temperature, every single morning, no OPKs, doing the castor oil packs for your fertility, and try to lay off the pregnancy tests. That would be my advice. And the next part of Sunshine Bear's question is any specific baby brands, products you love. So, and then what products do you find absolutely essential for a new baby? So I did a products I've used from 0 to 3 months video. If you're interested in looking at that, again, it'll be in the cards and down below in the description. But I will just say that coconut oil, the way I see it is, if you're washing your baby with fragranced baby wash, there's more chance of them having issues like dry skin or some sort of reaction to that. What I do, Ava, is we just wash her with water. She does have a bit of eczema, but that runs in our family. So I'm now adding kind of an emulsifying lotion into her bath and onto her after we dry her. But I have not put anything on her besides water, coconut oil, and that emulsifying lotion. Those are the only things that she's ever had on her. From the day she was born, I've been using water wipes, which are 99% water, and the other 1% I think is grapefruit extract. So I haven't been using perfumed wipes on her. On her bum as a cream, I'd use coconut oil because it's so moisturizing. And I would wash her at the very start. For the whole first month, we washed her with cotton buds and warm water every time we did a nappy change on her. And I found that great. She hasn't had a nappy rash. And I just think that the more you can lay off the fragrance, even if they're like organic and fragrance free, I think it's better if you just go with water, because baby skin, especially newborn baby skin, they're so delicate, and they do dry a lot. Baby definitely do get dry skin a lot, so the less you can use, the less ingredients you can use on them is the best. So as far as baby products, I mean, there's so much stuff I've tried, and there's so much stuff that are crap, to be perfectly honest. I don't have products as such, but my only advice is if people could just use water to wash their baby's bum, or water wipes, not perfumed, non-fragranced. Coconut oil as a nappy cream, as a nappy rash preventative, I suppose, and under skin in the bath. Try not to put like bubble bath or any of those. Use those perfumed body wash and hair gel. I really don't feel like it's needed. So I hope that helped a bit and I got across what I was trying to say. I have 2 questions left, and they're from Twitter. So the first one is, do you have any advice coping with leaving baby for the first time overnight? So myself and Robert left Ava for 2 nights a couple of weeks ago, and I was having panic attacks and major anxiety before we left. I was in such a bad mood for 2 days before we left, because all I was thinking was, my child's not going to be able to cope without me. She's gonna need me, blah 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 blah. And to be honest, she didn't. What I found helped was to make sure that you have everything. So in advance, kind of write down a list of everything that you need to send with baby, and then on the day you pack all that stuff. I had a big suitcase full of stuff, and so that was perfect. We had that. What I found helped while I was away was that I got my sister and Robert's sister, because each grandparent had her one night, to I got my sister and Robert's sister to send me pictures of her throughout the day. I knew that like 3-4 times a day I was going to receive pictures of her and know that she's okay. And also the biggest thing that helped me was that both my mom and Robert's mom would text me when she fell asleep at nighttime. So I knew then at 10 o'clock at night when I got that message that okay, she's in bed now and I can relax a tiny little bit. I didn't sleep great when I was away, and you do spend your whole time thinking of your child. But I feel like having the pictures and having that text message tell me she's asleep really, really helped me. And then the final question is, any tips to prepare for how baby will react after their jabs and how to ease the pain? So Ava has received 2 of her injections now, so at 2 months and at 4 months. So the biggest tip I have is to 30 minutes to 45 minutes before they receive those injections is to give them some sort of pain relief. So here in Ireland and in the UK we have Calpol, the brand Calpol, and that can be taken from 2 months. So 45 minutes to 30 minutes before I went to her appointment, I gave her some of that pain relief, and then we got the injections, and then when we came home I gave it to her 4 hours later, and then another time just before she went to bed, and I found that that helped her so much. And then that was at the 2-month one, and at the 4-month one that we got there this week, what I did was, again 30 minutes before we left to get the injections, I gave her a dose of Calpol, and then when we came home at 6 o'clock in the evening I gave her a dose of Calpol. And then at 10 o'clock at night, just before she was going to bed, I gave her a dose of Calpol. And then in the morning time, I also gave her another dose of Calpol. And then I stopped. And she seems to have reacted really well to it. She doesn't seem to be as fussy, and she didn't get red lumps this time. So I will say that you need to also prepare yourself for these injections. It's very tough to see somebody inflict some pain, even though it's for a short amount of time, on your child. So be prepared for your child screaming and them being a little bit uncomfortable after their injections, and also for them to be off for the next rest of that week. Ava has been off all this week after getting her injections, and that just seems to be something that happens to her every time she gets them. So that is it, guys. I hope I answered all of your questions. If you had a question you wanted to ask and you didn't get a chance to leave it in on my request video, do leave it below. I will try to answer it there, and if I don't, I will do another one of these maybe near the end of the year, and I will include it there. I want to thank you so much. I now have 1,500 subscribers, so I am so super happy about that, and I want to thank you all for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you press the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.